Hi, I'm John, and this is a Super Vegeta Ichiban Kuji figure. You've seen me turn this into the big buff version of the Super Saiyan Blue form, but what if I turn it into the big buff version of my version of a Daima Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta? A Super Vegeta 4, if you want to call it that. Today's video is a request from member Lopez Collection, who has his own YouTube channel and Instagram page showcasing not only his own collection, but his own customs as well. And they're super creative, so go check him out on YouTube and on Instagram. Speaking of Instagram, would you like a chance to win one of these? Jump Ichiban and I are kicking off a partnership by giving one of these away on Instagram. To enter, all you have to do is go to the post linked in the pinned comment below, like it, follow both of our accounts, and tag a friend in the post's comments. You'll have until April 7th to enter, and Jump Ichiban will reach out to the winner directly. And if you're shopping on Jump Ichiban's website, where you can find the latest and greatest Japanese products before they're released in the US, you can use my promo code JOHNS10 to get 10% off your order on 2 or more items, and JOHNS5 to get 5% off anytime. Thanks to Jump Ichiban for partnering with me, and now, let's get started. Let's start with the easy stuff, which is getting this tail into this butt. Next, I had to sculpt in some rips in the jumpsuit around the tail. Lopez Collection really liked the idea of Vegeta's ripped sleeve showing off his fur, so naturally, I had to make some. I couldn't get this upper body out of the armor since the glue is so stubborn, so I'm gonna have to work around it. I added thin layers of epoxy sculpt onto each individual muscle section to make sure that as much of the original sculpt still shone through. Then I stabbed markings into the indents of his musculature as a guide for which direction I wanted to sculpt the rest of the fur. And then proceeded to fill in the rest of the shoulder. Once the shoulders were completely cured, I rolled up some noodly bits and sculpted in the rips in his sleeves. Then I went back and sculpted in the rest of the fur on his arms. Once I finished the forearms, the next big mystery was whether or not I was able to do the big Daima forearms. Luckily, friend of the channel Fusion Figures had a 3D scan of this Vegeta, and I was able to scale it up by 20% to get those big fists, and by proxy, some longer forearms. Huge shout out to Fusion Figures. Make sure you check out his other 3D printing files on his Instagram at Chubbs3D. Then I just had to print it, alongside his mane of hair. Spoilers, I guess. Yep, definitely a nice size increase. Because I'm still new to 3D printing, I have no idea how to make the print file fit the arm pegs yet, so I'm gonna have to do this old school. Now that the gloves are in place, I have to build out those beefy monkey forearms. As you saw earlier, I also printed out some hair. The model being a Xeno Super Saiyan 4 Vegeta, also sent to me by Fusion Figures. I crudely cut out the pieces that I needed in the slicing software and now it's just a matter of attaching it. I cut off the bottom layer of the back of Vegeta's hair to make space for the 3D printed mane. Next, after doing a test to make sure it actually fit down his back, I made some brute force adjustments to the print to make sure everything sat flush. Once everything seemed to fit, I drilled some holes and inserted some armature wire to give the hair some stability. Once the hair was in place, I gave it some extra stability with globs of hot glue. I cut up those spikes that I chopped off earlier and used them to fill in some of the blank spots and gaps in the hair. Next, I had to work on those two little spikes that hang over the neck. Once I got those armature wires in position, I hot glued my 3D printed shoulder spikes in place. Then I used some leftover hair spikes from our bootleg Super Saiyan 4 Broly to cover up these exposed wires. Then I filled in any gaps in the hair with some epoxy sculpt. After giving everything a good sanding, it's prime time. I filled in the muscle crevices in the jumpsuit with some black. Then I went over it with various lighter shades of blue to blend and highlight. For the skin, I started with a wood brown shading layer and blended with a Vallejo flesh tone. For the fur, I went back and did a thick coat of red primer to fill in some of the holes after all the sculpting. Then I went over it one more time from an upward angle with a light coat of white to tone down the amount of red that would come through when painting. I gave the fur an initial shading coat of magenta, and then gave it a light spritz of a mix of fluorescent magenta and red to give it a little extra brightness. I also applied a few heavy coats of magenta on Vegeta's hair, and just to prevent it from getting a little bit too flat, I added some darker magenta shade into the crevices and towards the hair roots just to break up some of the color. I did a brown shading layer on his armor pieces and then filled in the blending areas with some yellow ochre. Before I airbrushed the gloves, I added in a black lining in between the figures to add a little extra depth. And then added a gray shading layer for all the gloves, armors, and boots, and blending in with some white. With airbrushing done, it's time to unmask everything.
Hello, monkeys!
I hand painted in some of the details like the clothing rips and boot soles since it's a lot easier than masking them off. The sculpt lines on this Vegeta's face are so great, so instead of hand painting, I'm going to use some pink brown panel liner to fill in all these lines. And the last bit of painting I have to do is to paint in his eyes. Then I applied a matte clear coat to seal all the paint. And all that was left to do was to put him back together.
I'm still getting used to this form, so don't expect much self-control.
Here's the final result. This is the first time I utilized 3D printing into my customs, and certainly won't be the last. Let me know what you think in the comments. Don't forget to enter my SH Figuarts Goku giveaway from Jump Ichiban in the description and pinned comment below. Thanks to member Lopez Collection for suggesting this video. Thanks to Rifty Beat for letting me use his music. And of course, thanks to all my members, with special thanks to my newest member, Corbin Sings. Membership to the channel is only $2 a month, where you can help support the channel directly and get some behind the scenes looks of what I'm working on. You can find everything I use in the video linked in the description as affiliate links. If you buy anything after you click the link, it'll help support the channel without any additional cost to you. And if you like my work, like the video, leave a comment, subscribe, and hit the bell notification so you know exactly what's coming up next. Thanks for watching. See you next time.